Hey everyone, welcome to Kernels, where we discuss short films. Today's short film is Cigarettes and Coffee from 1993, not to be confused with Coffee and Cigarettes
I
from, I
was say,
believe,
did you also? There's like
1999.
thousands of movies.
Yeah, very confusing. Also from a famous director. I forget his name at this time, but also famous director. This is Paul Thomas Anderson, PTA's directorial debut for a short film.
Which is like interesting because like the what last week we just somehow stumbled upon that like YouTube has the short
Hmm.
films or like
From like famous
the
directors.
first short films of people who became like big directors.
Yeah,
And last week was who?
it was Wes Anderson.
Wes Anderson.
Yes,
So
sir.
so this is interesting for Paul Thomas Anderson.
Your favorite
Um,
director. You try to downplay it, but it's your favorite director.
but it's funny because it's like I really like anybody that works with Daniel Day Lewis because like Daniel Day Lewis is the dude that goes in deep into
That boy's a
his like
thespian,
roles.
man.
Yeah, I think that's
And
the
people
thing.
don't,
Where like,
yeah, people don't use that word anymore, but that man's a thespian.
yeah, I think that's the thing where like when people show up to like award ceremonies and they're like, "Oh, I'm going against Daniel Day Lewis," like
Like,
I'm not gonna win. Like, might as well just
yeah.
get drunk and
It's like going to the finals against Michael Jordan. Like,
yeah, it's like no chance.
you already know who's going to win. Like, why am I even trying? Can
I
we just
bet
pack it up?
everyone's like happy or like not happy, but like he's retired, so people can win Best Actor sometimes.
Like, I'll give it to you this year. Like,
Yeah.
I'm taking some time off. I said I retired. I'm going to do like Jay-Z and come back, do like Brady come back.
but okay, so what do you think about this? Because I think this leads into Heart Eight, which we
It
did
does,
watch,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It reminded me of Heart Eight. Like,
Hmm.
PTA is a great director. He's just not my type of director. Like
Hmm.
I'm used to the Tarantinos, the Spielberg. Spielberg's one of my favorites. Michael Mann's. I like action. I like action and comedy. PTA, I was telling you before we started recording, like he's very technical. It's very okay, there's a dialogue scene, we're gonna have a wide shot, and then we're gonna cut to one person speaking, then we're gonna cut to the other person speaking. And it's a lot of that, a lot of cuts between uh, two people having a conversation or multiple people having a conversation. So
Hmm.
it's directed well, but it's just too slow for me. Is why I can't get into his films.
Yeah, I guess so. It's like you there's a lot of emphasis and there's a lot of emphasis on the conversation that's happening
Hmm.
and the multiple conversations. And so and it's like it almost kind of I think relays or relates to my liking with Wes Anderson where his early portions of even with like Bottle Rocket, the short film, it's like there was a lot of emphasis on like how well he wrote the script and how well he directed people to communicate the script or act out the script. And so you
But
can tell that Paul Thomas Anderson kind of puts in a lot of time and effort into like how these
into the
conversations are
dialogue,
constructed.
yeah. But you can
Hmm.
see the difference though. Like there's more there's more feeling in a Wes Anderson directed, at least in my eyes. Like watching the short for Bottle Rocket and watching those conversations play out between the three characters, it had a different feel, a different vibe to the conversation we watched play out in Cigarettes and Coffee.
I guess so. Yeah. It's more methodical, I guess. It's like a
Yeah.
technical is like another way of saying that in terms of like I think Paul Thomas Anderson understands that he's very good at knowing what shots to do and then wants to include those shots in like
Yeah.
different uses of the camera and stuff. And like because you see it like there's that tracking shot where it moves from one conversation to the next
Next. Hmm.
using the waitress that's kind of walking along with you and stuff. So that's
And
a
he does great with that. Like
yeah.
even in when we watch Punch Drunk Love, like there's moments that are like, oh wow, like nobody would think of this, but it's very technical. Like okay,
Mhm.
if if I have a character on the left side of the screen and then I bring something across from the left side to the right side, the camera needs to follow, and then that could be the transition to a tracking shot. So he's very, like you said, very methodical, which is great, but at times it's like, okay, think outside the box. Even that is thinking
Yeah, I
outside
guess
the
so,
box.
right?
It's just like it's a very technical way of doing it.
It was you can almost kind of create a blueprint
Yeah,
of what Paul Thomas Anderson does, and then you're like, oh, I can direct like
I
Paul
can do
Thomas
it.
Anderson.
Yeah, like you can't, but you can to a certain extent.
It almost kind of like also relates to the conversation of the first two guys having the conversation, because he's like, you can tell he has a very distinct ritual where it's like, I need to have my cigarette and I need to have my coffee, and then we can kind of have like,
Yeah,
so it makes me wonder, is like, is PTA kind of like communicating his
that was him.
style through
Yeah,
that conversation where it's
for
like,
sure.
that's just how I think of things.
Like these things need to happen before this thing can happen. Yeah, and that's a story. That's great, and that was cool seeing that that older. I always forget that man's name, but that
Yeah,
he
me too.
actually was in Hard Eight.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to see where like where he, I don't know, like you kind of know where his mind was already at and stuff, and
Yeah,
like he already kind of made that choice with that actor and stuff. And I don't know, it's like again, we like this Kernel series is mostly to watch short films that could possibly turn into something, and a lot of the short films that we have watched were something that maybe have not turned into something yet, but
yeah.
we would like to. But this and last week's Kernel, these are things that turn into very big filmographies. Like I'm looking at Paul Thomas Anderson's filmography, where
His movies for days.
yeah, Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love is what we've also watched. There Will Be
Hard
Blood,
Eight.
which is like
Your
the first
favorite?
15 minutes of that movie is freaking crazy.
What's the one with Joaquin Phoenix? Is that
The
one
Master, right?
that
Yeah,
Master? Yeah,
and
that.
that's
Oh, and
yeah.
John C. Not John C. Riley. Freaking
The guy that's
Seymour.
sadly passed away. Yeah,
Philip
Philip
Seymour
Seymour
Hoffman.
Hoffman. Yeah, and then Licorice Pizza. A lot of people had some like weird disdain for Licorice Pizza, but he won like so many awards and stuff.
Yeah,
And that seems like like his growing coming of age movie.
yeah.
So it's like it's funny because like you see it where like Paul Thomas Anderson kind of looks at like, oh, Hard Eight's like my kind of like gambling situation and stuff, and then like Boogie Nights is just like this dude that like does this kind of like off the wall
Shows
kind
his
of
thing on
vice,
camera.
yeah.
Yeah,
And so different things, and so but I don't know, I enjoy it. I think it's funny because I enjoy this type of like methodical way of doing it, but I did
yeah,
not like Michael Mann's methodical way of
yeah.
doing
And
like
I loved
Heat.
it.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
loved it. And
yeah. Oh, and that's what I forgot. We did watch the Dirk Diggler story. We watched
oh
that
yeah,
short,
we did.
which
Yeah,
turned
we
into
did
Boogie
watch that.
Nights.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's another one. See, which is like I wonder if like Paul Thomas Anderson likes to do that, where it's like he makes shorts to kind of convey his idea.
I think that's a good
Then
way to do it. So you're not
right.
like breaking the bank. Like, hey, this is a cool concept that I have. Let me see what I can develop for a 15, 20, like between a 15 and 30 minute short, and see if I can get any traction with that. And then that can potentially turn into a feature film.
Mm-hmm,
At least it
mm-hmm.
seems like he was doing that in his early career.
Yeah, I wonder if he still does it now, where he just kind of like, or like he just does it like just for his own personal self, where it's like
No,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
just
put
makes one real
together
quick
like
and
a
it's like,
little prototype and everything, and then
yeah.
I'm.
Because we watched the Wes Anderson shorts that came out earlier this year. So some directors are still doing shorts.
Yeah, I guess so, right? That's one thing I wanted to ask you about this, because I am pretty sure we watched the same YouTube video or like the upload. It's fairly a horrible quality or
Oh yeah,
version
it's
of
trash.
this. So I was like, man, how do you like find and like make it a better quality, like preserve these, like
Yeah,
I'm assuming Paul Thomas Anderson has like the actual footage that
a
he
clean
he
copy.
took,
Yeah,
right,
for
like his
sure.
own
Yeah,
thing, but I don't know, like it would be nice to have like a database of like, here's all the short films and like in good quality,
yeah,
like all that and stuff. So
that would be pretty cool.
yeah.
Because so then like you can shop that or like shop that to film schools or film schools could utilize it. Like, okay, hey, instead of us uh, giving you all of these feature films to watch for the curriculum, watch these shorts. Like start
Yeah.
with shorts, and then as you progress through this school, we'll have you watch feature films because you have to see the foundation of where these directors and cinematographers and writers came from, so then you can see where they ended up.
Yeah, you can almost kind of get lost in your
Yeah,
mind if you're like, oh, I gotta make an hour and a half film or a 2 hour
yeah,
film. It's
that's daunting.
yeah,
Like
that's daunting.
120 pages. What do you mean? I can barely write four. Like,
Right. Now, like you are on the fence of like how Paul Thomas Anderson kind of like directs and like
no,
portrays
he's
his
great.
movies.
He's just not my director.
Yeah.
Is
So
all it
like,
is.
who do you recommend this to? Like in terms of in your point of view.
Uh, I don't know. I think others could find like I didn't hate it. Like I enjoyed Hard Eight. Like I suggested we watch it. That's
That's
why we
true.
ended up
Yeah.
watching it. But I think kind of goes back to what I was saying before. Like watching short films is great for newbie directors, filmmakers, writers, just to see the foundation. See like okay, these were everyday people that had an idea, figured out a way to put it together, film it, and then put it out for others to watch. Someone connected with it that had money and was willing to put that money up to create a feature film.
Mm-hmm.
So I think anyone in that realm of like, including myself, of like, man, I have this idea I think is cool, and then writing the script, whatever, and putting it out, or writing the script, filming it, and then putting it out, and not having the uh not idea, but not having the thought of like, oh, it has to do well. Just
Yeah.
the
Right.
thought of, okay, hey, I did it, I put it out. People may or may not enjoy it, but at least I got it out of my head so people can watch it.
Yeah, and it's
So
there available for people to watch and stuff. And then
yeah,
like, yeah, you're not like kind of having that anxiety of like, oh, now like
it has to
a
do
lot of things
great.
depend on this now.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you. Where it's like anybody that's like interested in like, hey, anybody that like enjoys PTA's like style.
yeah,
I think more so you're gonna be able to understand his style of like writing with this, where it probably in terms of the quality, but of the video that we see on YouTube, but you also kind of see as to like how he likes to um, kind of shoot conversations, and when it's not like a straight up shot where it's like both of them sitting next to each other
yeah,
and the conversation is kind of happening naturally. Like you have a lot of cuts. You're kind of in the perspective of who's listening, who's talking, and all that stuff. And so there's, so like seeing that can influence your own personal style, I think. And so if you end up watching a Paul Thomas Anderson movie and you're like, oh, like how did this guy start out? Why is he so famous now?
hmm
This is exactly where you need to start and stuff,
yeah,
and just see like, hey, like he just probably rented out a diner or like asked a diner that probably had no one showing up anymore.
yeah. It might have been a local diner. He's like, hey, I know the people that work here. Can
Yeah.
I borrow this for an hour? Just like, can I just get one of these
Yeah.
seats for an hour and just record two people talking? They're probably looking at him like, what? Sure.
Yeah, he's probably sliding the camera like across the countertop.
Just back and forth.
But yeah, like we always say, we will have the video linked in our description down below and stuff, and so you can watch it for yourself and let us know if you liked it or disliked it in the comments below. But yeah, let us know if you liked it, disliked it in the comments below, and please like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more kernels like these.